Guys, let's kick things off. Obviously, if we're going to talk about edgy content, I think we start with the Colin Jackie O incident.
I mean, ultimately, we failed to protect a 14-year-old girl, to be honest. And, you know, we learned a lot from that particular incident. And we went through I think Jonesy was mentioning before we came up here, you know, we don't just turn up at 6 o'clock and talk for 5 minutes and then hit an ad break. We plan shows and we plan for content, and we went through that process with the lie detector, and we got permission from the mother to have the daughter on with her. And we went through all of the questions and all of the things that we thought we needed to cover before we put them on the air. And we were unaware of the situation that she had been through, and unfortunately, because we weren't in delay, which was our mistake, the incident happened. So from that, you know, some really basic things for us. I mean, we have 10-second delay. We have a content auditor working on the breakfast show. So we will, when we're planning the week out, we will look for those content moments that might step towards the edges, and we work through you know, what we can and can't do in particular situations. But at the end of the day, it is live radio, and we failed to protect her through that process, and you know, we made a mistake.
I was in an interesting position because at the time when the story blew up, I was at 2GB, and we had that morning received, I was actually on the air, I was doing the breakfast show, and the guy who normally hosts it, you might have heard of Alan Jones,
Yeah.
He was away that day, and anyway, we got an email from a parent who'd heard from their daughter or something that you're not going to believe it, this happened on the air. So by the time we got it had been exaggerated, we naturally went to our little machine that allows us to instantly go back, our flash log machine, and have a listen to the piece. And you know, it was, from a radio nerd's perspective, it was, wow, you know, competition gone wrong, how about this? And within 5 minutes it was around the office, within 15 minutes it was around the radio industry, but someone had to jump on the air and do something with it. And I'm fairly confident, my recollection was our morning man, Ray Hadley, decided at 9 o'clock to give it a go and you know, have a listen to this trash kind of stuff. And that got it going. And so it sort of showed me, you know, it was another example of the enormous viral thing that takes place now when, you know, someone screws up or something goes wrong and it ends up everywhere. And you're right. I mean, the people who were getting shocked, awed and outraged about it were not listeners to Kyle and Jackie O. They were probably not viewers of Today, Tonight and The Current Affair, and certainly not listeners to, they were listeners to stations like 2GB that were being inspired to have a listen to this. This is how low these people in the gutter, commercial rivals, have got, and it gave us a good opportunity. And I think, you know, you made the point, Brendan, that the whole thing was that allowed Kyle and Jackie O to be kind of somewhat elevated. I think it also showed a nasty dimension to commercial, and perhaps even nastier dimension to non-commercial broadcasting, that any opportunity that intermedia gets to shit-can another level of intermedia actually is something that's exploited. And, you know, in many respects, we have brought on, as a result of this, an unnecessary scrutiny of the business, which has caused your company, I think, to have to, over the top, control and police what has very safely gone to air for a very long time. And it's also triggered an environment now where we've got an army of people that want to over-regulate, and I believe extremely over-regulate, what is allowed on the air, when indeed the industry has done a pretty good job, when really you can only think of a handful of screw-ups like the one that you're talking about from that day, and ones I've worked at stations where it's been at, that have actually led to this sort of odd situation where now governments want to impose restrictions on what can and can't be done on the air, and I don't think that's in anyone's interest.
I mean, think about FM radio stunts, and they're a big part of breakfast shows, and regardless of whatever happened with a situation with Colin Jackie O, where do you draw the line, do you think? I mean, my view is different to when it was when I was on breakfast radio. I think if you're going to do a stunt, you might as well do a stunt.
Well, sorry, Tim. We had a thing when we had Rob Logan was our program director for a while. in 2006, and he came on board with with a lot of cool sort of ideas. And we had this thing called, and it was Amanda, my co-host's idea, thing called Me or the TV for the Commonwealth or the Olympic Games or something. So you'd smash your TV up and you'd have to go without it, and on the off chance that you win a big TV. And we all thought, oh, this is a great idea. And then we actually did it. And it kind of backfired on us because a lot of listeners are going, well, you're wasting a perfectly good TV. And then people are ringing up saying, on air, they're saying, can't you give it to the Smith family? Which sounded, it just sounds bad when you're saying, no, he's got to smash the TV up.
It's great though.
But then in your mind, you start to think, oh, hang on, I don't know if this is what we're about.
Yeah. Should there be a line on what we do with stunts? I mean, I'll give you an example. There was whether or not you would do this, but Howard Stern did a competition where a woman came in with her father. The father was asked a question. For every question he got right, he'd get $100. For every question he got wrong, the daughter had to take off an item of clothing in front of him.
Yep. No, we wouldn't do that.
You wouldn't do it?
No. I mean, Kyle would like to. But
You're giving him content.
But I suppose, I mean, the reason I ask this is because, like, the cornerstone of these stunts are getting someone to do something for money. And if you look at it from a pure moral compass, a sort of AM way of looking at it, you really are preying on people who don't have enough money. And you're asking them to do stuff because they're in a bad way.
Well, it's actually just, for us, it's just to elicit an emotional response.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, radio, for lots of people, is back here, and we're trying to lean people forward when we start speaking. And you don't do that by doing bland, boring content. I mean, we had a conversation in the lift, the three of us, about a relationship that one of us is aware of. It's a friend of a friend who's got a marriage issue going on, and it was really good and juicy and interesting.
Everyone else in the lift loved the conversation.
And it's that kind of content that our listeners hopefully will take to work with them and tell their friends about and tell them where they were listening, which station they were listening to. So for us, it's just about trying to get some kind of emotional connection, good, bad, or indifferent. We had a contest in the 8 o'clock hour on 2Day about a year ago, where we had a listener who was given $1,000 and they had to ring through with why they wanted the money. So, for instance, a young mother might ring through and say, I'm short on rent this month, I need $1,000. Okay, here's the $1,000. Now we're going to open up the lines on 131060, and the first person to ring through can take this money off this lady. So a really tough, heartfelt story. The woman's got the money, some asshole is going to ring through and take the money, and it would happen. We used to get a heap of complaints about it. But from our perspective, it was, and Sydney, to be honest, is different to any other market. That kind of content we couldn't do in any other market. But in Sydney, for whatever reason, on that show, and as long as we go into a celebrity interview next, and Kyle does a rescue 15 minutes later, and and I guess that was the issue with the lie detector. Out of context, that tiny piece of audio that was played on Today, Tonight, and in the news and in the other media sounds really, really bad. But on that show, 15 minutes earlier, we just had this interview with Rob Thomas, and we'd done a rescue that day, and we'd had a phone topic about a relationship issue that everyone goes through. So people that hadn't heard the show just think that's all we ever do. So for us, it really comes down to, is this of any interest to the audience? Do you think we can find some kind of a way for them to turn the radio up when the music stops?
It's all about pie, isn't it? It's your pie. But you don't want stuff like that, hold your wee for a wee in America.
Yep.
If you hear that, the woman dies. That's what is bad about the industry.
And that's where you've got to drink as much water and then hold it in.
So this woman, for anyone that doesn't know, she on the off chance that she's going to win a wee, she has to drink as much water. I think it's like a litre every hour or something. Keep drinking it, and whoever can hold their wee the longest wins a wee. People are ringing in and saying you can die of alcohol intoxication.
Yep.
They had a doctor ring up, and the idiot dickhead DJ, no mate, she'll be all right. That's where you have to save listeners from themselves because, and the lie detector thing, that whole thing, that mother was an idiot. That mother was a ginormous idiot. She shouldn't have been in there, but you have to protect listeners from themselves because quite frankly, you could say tomorrow, I'd amputate a limb for a Harley Davidson, and I reckon you would get 50,000 people that would do it.